The Chicago Bears just turned a rivalry loss into a full-blown panic, and nobody can agree what the real problem is. A tight 28-21 game at Lambeau ends with Caleb Williams throwing an interception at the goal line, Jordan Love walking off with the win, and Bears fans arguing about everything from the pass rush to play calling. Some people are treating this like a warning for the whole season. Others say it is just one bad finish. But everyone feels the same thing right now. Something big was exposed in this game, and the scary part is that it might not be the part of the team people are yelling about the loudest. Right now, you hear the same hot takes flying around. The defensive line is getting blasted because Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, Grady Jarrett, and Austin Booker could not take over the game the way Green Bay's front did, so that group is suddenly labeled the clear weak link. Caleb Williams is getting tagged as the guy who choked, even though most of his night looked very different from that final throw. DJ Moore just had a stat line that shocked everyone, especially with Rome Odunze out, and people are already asking if he even fits this offense. On top of that, Kyler Gordon hurts his groin in warm-ups after the team just committed serious money to him. Jalen Johnson and CJ Gardner-Johnson are fighting through tough assignments, and Josh Jacobs rips off a back-breaking run that has fans questioning effort, tackling, and even how this team handles injuries. What nobody is talking about enough is how all of these pieces connect, and how much of this loss is really about plan and structure instead of one player or one position group. The Bears still sit in the heart of the playoff race. They still get another shot at the Packers, and they have a huge game coming up that will either calm everyone down or light the fire even more. Before we judge the whole season off one throw, we need to peel back what Caleb Williams actually did in this game, snap by snap, and see if he is really the problem people are trying to turn him into, or if the story is a lot more complicated than that. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. The Chicago Bears are hearing a lot of people point at Caleb Williams and say he cost them the game, but that is not the full truth. One interception at the goal line is the loudest image from Lambeau, so it is easy to hang the whole night on that throw and ignore everything that led up to it. The twist is that most of this performance looked like the same aggressive, fearless quarterback the Bears have been riding for weeks, just pushed into a tiny margin for error. If you only see the final pick, you see a collapse. If you watch every snap, you see a passer who kept dragging this team back into a fight that other parts of the roster kept making harder. Look at how his night actually unfolded. Early on, the timing with Luther Burden and Cole Kmet was off, the rhythm was choppy, and the stat line looked ugly. But the second half turned into something very different. He finished the game at 19 of 35 for 186 yards with 2 touchdowns, and a lot of those throws were not safe checkdowns. He pushed the ball into tight windows, hit Olamide Zaccheaus in the end zone, created off-script plays that kept drives alive, and mixed in several smart throwaways where nothing was open instead of forcing disaster. That is not a quarterback melting under pressure. That is a young passer trying to carry an offense that took too long to wake up, behind a line that only settled in once the game was already leaning Green Bay's way. Then you get to that final snap. The one every debate show is looping. The call rolls Caleb Williams to his left, with DeAndre Swift flashing in the flat as the first read, Cole Kmet sliding across the back of the end zone as the second, and DJ Moore working as the late option that almost never gets reached in real time. Keshawn Nixon abandons DJ Moore and jumps the route, and because the ball comes out a fraction late and lands short instead of at the back line, the game ends in his hands instead of Kmet's. That throw is on Caleb, no way around it, but blaming the entire loss on that moment lets everyone else off the hook. To really understand why the Bears were even in a spot where one mistake killed them, you have to flip to the other side of the ball and see how Jordan Love and the Packers offense kept getting the answers they wanted against this Chicago defense. The most worrying part for the Chicago Bears was not just that Jordan Love made big throws, it was how often he knew exactly where the ball should go before the snap. Time after time, he looked at the coverage, saw the pressure look, and attacked the exact spot the defense was leaving open. That is not a case of a random hot night, that is a sign that the plan on defense made his job easier. When a quarterback feels like the answers are written on the test before the play even starts, you are asking for trouble, especially in a stadium where mistakes get punished fast. You could see what was happening in the way the calls repeated. Dennis Allen brought extra rushers again and again with man coverage behind it, usually a single deep safety and everyone else carrying a matchup across the field. On paper, that sounds aggressive, but Jordan Love read it and went straight to his speed outside. Deep routes to Christian Watson, vertical shots to Bo Melton and Romeo Doubs, seam work to Luke Musgrave, all punished those pressure looks. The numbers tell the story. On blitz calls, the Bears only turned a small handful into real pressure, while a simple four-man rush created more actual hits and even produced the only sack from Montez Sweat and the interception by CJ Gardner-Johnson. The more they attacked, the more Green Bay felt in rhythm. That is why this game leaves such a strange feeling. The coverage calls and blitz choices put a heavy load on corners, safeties like Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, and depth players such as Nick McLeod, while the front four rarely got a chance to win the rep on their own. It almost looked like the staff did not fully trust the defensive line to control the pocket without help, so they kept sending bodies and lived with the risk behind it. If that is the case, the next big question is simple. Is this really a scheme issue, or is the problem deeper at the line of scrimmage, where the Bears need their front to change games without constant extra help? The Chicago Bears built this front hoping it could tilt games, but right now it feels more like a group that reacts instead of one that sets the tone. Montez Sweat is playing like the main closer, yet he is often the only lineman offenses truly fear. Grady Jarrett, Austin Booker, Dayo Odeyingbo, and Shamar Turner show talent in short bursts, then disappear for long stretches where the pocket stays clean and the run fits soften. When your interior tackles are more steady than explosive, and your rotation pieces are more solid than scary, you end up with a line that looks fine on paper, but does not fully change the math for an opponent that wants to throw on schedule or lean on the ground game late. That is what makes the next test so revealing. The Cleveland Browns are coming in with an offensive line that has real problems. Starting center Ethan Pochik is done for the season with an Achilles injury, disruptive interior force. Malik Collins is out of the picture on the other side of the ball, and tackle Cam Robinson has not been the same steady wall fans remember from his best seasons. Depth pieces like former Bear Jenkins are being pushed into bigger roles, and that makes things even more unstable in front of Shedeur Sanders, who can drift in the pocket and hold the ball when his first read is not there. We just watched Tony Pollard hang a line like 25 carries for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns on this defense, which shows how quickly a front can collapse when it loses bodies or loses gap control. Chicago has a chance here for its defensive line to finally look like the bully, not the group hanging on. If this unit cannot take advantage of a wounded front in cold weather at Soldier Field, then the talk about scheme will start to sound like a cover for a deeper talent issue. A strong showing would ease some fear about how much help Montez Sweat truly needs and would give the back seven a cleaner picture, especially for players who are already dealing with health concerns and heavy snap loads. A quiet day from this group against a line missing Ethan Pochik and leaning on patchwork answers would only add more stress on a secondary that is already stretched thin. When the Bears paid Kyler Gordon real money to play that nickel and hybrid role, they were banking on a player who can handle traffic in the middle of the field, fill the run, blitz, and still track receivers through traffic. Losing him in warm-ups pulls that whole structure apart before the ball is even kicked. Instead of one steady piece who can slide between slot coverage and safety looks, you are suddenly asking other players to cover more space, change assignments on the fly, and communicate new responsibilities in real time. That is how a defense that looked tied together for weeks can suddenly feel a step late breaking on routes or closing lanes against a back like Josh Jacobs. Once you zoom out, you start to see a pattern that goes beyond one soft tissue injury. Linebackers like TJ Edwards and Noah Sewell are eased in with limited snaps, trying to play catch-up in games that already feel like playoff tests. In the trenches, players such as Braxton Jones have dealt with their own stops and starts, while on offense, Rome Odunze is managing a foot issue that needs careful handling if he is going to be himself when it matters most. None of this is about toughness. Every guy mentioned battles to be out there. The real concern is whether the timing of returns and the way those snaps are managed are truly giving them the best chance to stay on the field and impact games at a high level. All of that feeds into one simple truth. When key defenders are either missing or playing short of full strength, the offense has to carry more of the load, especially in December games where every drive changes the playoff picture. That is where the focus shifts to players who are healthy and on the field but are not touching the ball enough. One name is going to keep coming up until something changes. DJ Moore is too talented and too experienced to drift through big games without a real footprint, and if the Bears want to survive this injury storm on defense, they have to figure out once and for all if they can truly unlock him in the system or not. The Chicago Bears have a strange problem on their hands, because DJ Moore is on the field, he is healthy, he is paid like a star, but he often feels like a side note in this offense. In a game where Rome Odunze could not go, a lot of fans expected number 2 to take over, and instead watched long stretches where you almost forgot he was even in the route. That kind of quiet night does not match the way defenses respect him or the way his career has looked in other cities, so people jump straight to hot questions about trades and long-term plans. The real story is not that DJ Moore suddenly forgot how to play, it is that the pieces around him changed, and the way he is being used has not fully caught up to that reality. If you study how this attack runs, you see how easy it is for DJ Moore to slide into the background without anyone trying to freeze him out. A lot of his touches are quick screens, shovel passes, simple swings, the kind of calls that try to get the ball in his hands without asking Caleb Williams to hold it. On deeper concepts, the first look is often Rome Odunze. Then you see crossers to players like Luther Burden or seams to Cole Kmet, and by the time DJ Moore comes open late, the ball is already gone. That became clear when Ben Johnson said they actually went into Green Bay planning to feature him more and still walked out with a tiny box score. That tells you this is not about effort or attitude from DJ Moore, who has been praised in the locker room and even held up for his work off the field. It is about timing, chemistry, and a passing structure that has not fully carved out a clear lane where he is the first answer and not the safety valve. The good news for Chicago is that this problem still has time to turn into a strength if they are willing to shift how they open games. A small set of early calls where DJ Moore is the clear first read on slants, digs, and crossers can get him rolling, force safeties to move his way, and make life easier for Caleb Williams when defenses tilt toward Rome Odunze. Mix that with a few slot snaps, a deep shot when corners start sitting on the short game, and suddenly, number 2 looks like the kind of weapon you lean on in cold weather when you need a tough catch on third down. If the Bears can pull that version of DJ Moore out over the final month, it does more than fix one stat line. It changes how every defense has to line up against them, which could swing tight games in a playoff race that is already packed and about to get even more tense. The Chicago Bears did not just fall to the Green Bay Packers, they watched their whole place in the NFC reshuffle in one afternoon. Before this game, people were talking about top seeds and home games in January. After this finish, the record sits at 9-4. And suddenly, the Bears are squeezed into the crowded group fighting to stay on the right side of the bracket. One late interception from Caleb Williams and one more strong outing from Jordan Love flipped Chicago from chasing a top spot to staring at a tight cluster of teams where one slip can move you from comfort to danger overnight. The scary part is that the rest of the conference is not slowing down to wait for them. Now every week feels like a test with a different kind of pressure. The matchup with Cleveland is not just another game, it is a line in the sand. Win, and you move to 10-4 with a chance to control your own finish against Green Bay, San Francisco, and Detroit. Lose, and you might need to steal 2 wins from that final 3 just to feel safe. While other contenders like Philadelphia circle for better position, the Browns bring a strong defense even with their injuries up front. The 49ers are built to play deep into winter, and the Lions are still chasing their own statement in the division. In that kind of traffic, a slow start or one wasted drive from Caleb Williams can be the difference between a home game and a long road trip. That is why this Lambeau loss cannot just be filed away as one bad bounce. It has to be the moment where Chicago gets brutally honest about what travels in December and what does not. The margin is thin, the schedule is heavy, and the rest of the NFC is ready to punish every mistake. If the Bears want this season to end with real noise instead of what-if talk, they need clear answers on how they will attack on offense, adjust on defense, and squeeze more out of their stars in these final weeks. The next step is simple to say and hard to do. They need a concrete fix list that turns all of these lessons into actions before the Browns come to Soldier Field. The Chicago Bears do not have time for long speeches. They need clear answers that show up on the field right now. On offense, that starts with Caleb Williams and the line in front of him, because they have the tools to control a cold game at Soldier Field if they play to their strength. Let your blockers fire off the ball. Let DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai punch at a Cleveland front that is missing pieces, then let play action grow off that instead of chasing hero throws from the first drive. Mix in quick throws where DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and Cole Kmet know they are the first read, so Caleb Williams can see the field fast, get the ball out, and stack confidence before the defense even has time to adjust. When this attack leans into rhythm and balance, you can feel the whole sideline settle down. On defense, the fixes are just as direct. Trust the front four to win more often so you are not living on all-out pressure looks that give Jordan Love or Shedeur Sanders easy answers to single coverage outside. Let Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, Grady Jarrett, and Austin Booker hunt. Then layer smart changeups on top of that instead of blitz after blitz with the same coverage behind it. Give Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Kevin Byard, and Jaquan Brisker clearer pictures, so they can break on the ball instead of chasing from behind when a route has already turned the corner. That way, you are not asking banged-up players like TJ Edwards and Noah Sewell to erase explosives in space all night. You are squeezing throws before they become long gains. The hidden area that can quietly swing these next games is discipline on special teams and in the way the staff handles health. Clean kickoffs from Cairo Santos, better blocking on returns, and sharper tackling on coverage plays are small details that change starting field position for Caleb Williams and keep extra pressure off the defense. At the same time, being honest about where guys like Kyler Gordon and Rome Odunze are with their bodies could be the difference between having them available for a deep run or watching them fade when the stage gets bigger. If the Bears take these lessons from Lambeau, turn them into real changes against the Browns, and carry that edge into the rematch with the Packers, we could look back and say this was the stretch where Chicago stopped just surviving games and started shaping them.